Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Life's Unfair, my Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous playthrough series. Today we're going to be picking up right where we left off yesterday. Yesterday when we left off, we had just taken out the Vescivore Queen, and now we find that there is an entire gargantuan cave complex that runs below the Vescivore Queen's lair in Leper's Smile. So we did some exploring down here, and it's really split off, or split up into two sections rather. One section is full of Vescivore type enemies, insectile enemies, things like that. And there are some crazy fights in there, so those were actually beyond me. I did attempt them, but I'm not really going to show them here. I do come back and clean up later. The interesting thing down here that is relevant to this episode are these undead. So when you enter, if you proceed straight ahead, you'll run into a section that's dominated primarily by undead here. And if you keep going and go all the way to the end, you'll reach a section that's full of water, and then if you proceed to the end of that section, you'll run into these guys, Gargoyle and his squad of undead goons. So they themselves, there are a lot of them, but by themselves they're not particularly tough. What does make them difficult is the fact that they have a special mechanic that I haven't encountered anywhere else so far. They just keep resurrecting, so if you kill them all, they will stay dead for like a few seconds, and then all of them will just get back up, and they'll just keep coming at you. And I wasn't able to figure, it took me a while to figure out what was going on. This is my final attempt. This is the successful attempt, but I did try this a bunch of times, and actually in one of the attempts I killed each and every one of these things, I want to say at least 5+ times. And I was like, well, it's clearly not killing them until they stay dead. There's something else going on here. And it turns out there is. So there's a chest here over in this corner that if you interact with, you pick up the wand of Zacharius. And if you recall, the wand is an artifact that was being guarded by Teldin in the basement of the Tower of Estrad. And he tasked us with finding the wand. He said the wand was taken by the people that came and stole everything from the tower, those bandits that were ransacking the tower and the city of Canabris while it was in disarray from the demon invasion. And it turns out that these guys, these undead, are those bandits. I guess they died and they got corrupted by the wand's power or something like that. And if you recall, Zacharias was Teldin's, not master, but his commander. And he had great respect for him. He was a great mage and a great fighter and all that. But, well, if his wand does this to regular people, then maybe there's something else going on. So you can see what we're doing here, right? So by this point, I have figured out the mechanic. I interacted with the chest, I went through the little dialogue and selected that I pick up the wand. So you have the option to destroy it, or you have the option to pick it up and put it in your bag. And I pick it up and put it in my bag. And I find out later that that is actually a requirement for the Lich Mythic path, but then when I get further down the line to the choice of actually fully opening the option to walk the Lich path, I choose death. Death to the dead, Zacharias. So yeah, this fight is essentially over. I'm going to speed through the rest of this here. As you can see, the standard aggro drop frustration is here. You could see how many of those enemies fell down with the grease that Wolves have cast. Absolutely spectacular. And they do, because they are undead and they're whites, they have the ability to drain levels, which is really frustrating. You can protect against that with Death Ward. I don't really have easy access to that spell by this point, but eventually I do pick it up on Ember, and, well, she makes a lot of fights basically trivial when you have it. a lot of fights it would be impossible. She makes them basically trivial. Alright, I'm going to speed through the rest of this. So once you figure out the mechanic, picking up the wand makes the undead stay dead, it's very straightforward. So there's some nice stuff here. Just clear up the undead, pick everything up, and then, there is some good stuff here. It's definitely worth doing, and if you want to walk the Lich Mythic path, you need to do it. After that, there's a lot of stuff that I cut out here. I continued exploring the caves, and then I went to do some Crusader battles, and then we finally run into Crinukh, who sent us the invitation at the camp that had the 3 babaus in it. And he seems nice. He's a kobold, a civilized kobold who just keeps insisting that he has nothing but our best interest in mind. He wants to help us against the demons, but he refuses to really elaborate on his backstory. I give him the benefit of the doubt. He seems nice, so I just go with trusting him. Here you can see that I actually went for the option to attack him. I just wanted to see what would happen. And he dimension doors out. He doesn't let you kill him, so I'm sure he has a role to play in this story. But in the end, the final option I went with was trusting him, not mistrusting him or anything. Which, yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. So after that, we head on back, do a bunch of Crusader battles, which was a huge mistake on my part because it triggers this. So if you do too many Crusade battles, your base camp moves, and then when you finally do go back to base to rest, you encounter this instead of being able to rest. Your camp is attacked by Gargoyles, and you basically have to fight them off. It's tough because you start with just yourself, and you pick up some companions who are in the camp along the way, but not everyone. So you pick up Lan, well, he starts with you. You have Lan yourself, you pick up Camelia and Sela as well. Thankfully, Lan and Sela have dogs, so that helps a bit. But it's tough, because Gargoyles, even with a full party, are really hard. So I had to cheese the hell out of this, that is, use the pathing to take them out. You can see what I'm doing in a lot of the fights, right? There are areas of impassable terrain. Gargoyles are melee enemies, and I use that, right? I force them to path the whole way around. So I stand on one side, shoot them, and then force them to path all the way around to me. And by the time they path around, they drop aggro and run back, and it's just a question of shoot, path back. And yeah, it's really hard. There are 2 packs that are particularly tough. The ones that are directly to the north and south of those destroyed carts there. There are ways that you can cheese it, so you can see what I'm doing. Like, there are a lot of areas in this camp that have huge, long, impassable sections of terrain between them. So those tents provide like a barrier that Gargoyles cannot get around. So technically, if you could somehow move your entire party over to one side, to the right side of the tents that you can see right now, you would have an amazingly easy time taking out a lot of the packs, because they would have to path all the way south, and then all the way east, and then all the way north from there. So yeah, they wouldn't make it by the time they dropped aggro. But I don't have enough invisibility or anything like that, so I'm only able to use, and my characters, none of them are really good at stealth, so I'm only able to use the overturned carts right in the middle. And unfortunately, the side effect of that is, I take out one gargoyle and then I save the game, and that means that the rest of them just inch closer and closer and closer as their spawn points are being set closer and closer and closer to me by the saves, basically. So in the end, I end up with a huge, massive gargoyles right between these tents here that I can no longer access from the side of the cart, so I just have to fight them head on. Thankfully, Stinking Cloud comes in clutch here. Camelia has it, and so we are able to take them out without too much trouble. Thankfully, let this not fool you. There's about maybe 10 minutes of footage showing the Gargoyle camp encounter. It took me about 2.5 hours to clear this whole place. And I did 100% clear it. I didn't leave a single thing alive. There are technically what you could do here is you could, if you had a character with stealth, you could technically run right to the end and trigger the encounter with the named guy there and Irabeth and ignore everything else and then skip this entire sequence. You don't have to fight anything here. If you can make it to the end, that's it. Like it's done. I don't know if you'll miss out on it. I mean, I don't recall there being any particularly great loot here either. So you can see what I'm doing now I'm on the other side of the overturned carts and taking out the other pack. The problem with these gargoyles is not that they are tough. Like they are tough. They're really hard to kill. Some of them particularly. Like on the other side of the fence for this pack, there's a cleric. So he's a ranged enemy, and that makes this a little more complicated than the previous pack, which was all melee. Because the second I pull him, I have to run really far out of range so he can't cast anymore. And the longer he stays engaged with me, the longer the gargoyles that are pathing to me from the other side have to make it to me. Right? It's only when the last enemy in the pack de-aggros that they all de-aggro. But eventually I'm able to figure it out. That's why it took so long. This pack in particular took a really long time. You could see there I was freeing Nura, and she throws a firebomb into the gargoyles. I don't know what's going on with her. She seems a little bit suspicious, a little bit sus now, but yeah, I don't know. She hasn't really done anything bad, but further down the line, where I am right now, I did kind of confront her, but she had a good explanation for everything, so hopefully she doesn't turn out to be a bad guy. But yeah. So, we do end up clearing the rest of the camp here. We 100% it, not a single gargoyle left alive. And then we run to save Irabeth. And then we conclude this entire camp encounter here that way. So thankfully, after clearing the camp and watching Irabeth get carried off by a huge gargoyle, we get sent over here right away. No time to rest, no time to buy, no time to do anything without all our companions with us. Thankfully, Nenyo's waiting for us, so we do get Nenyo as well. But right, we don't have Ember with us. We only have 5 companions, and this is the Lost Chapel. And obviously, of course, the enemies are all, or mostly, gargoyles and demons and stuff, so it's horrible. I'm basically corrupted at this point. I have the first level of corruption. This place was really, really tough. And there are going to be a lot of cuts here because there are a lot of attempts that did not go very well. So I'm just going to be showing the successful attempts. This is the first group of gargoyles here that you run into. It took me 4 or 5 attempts to take these first gargoyles down. I'm going to speed through the rest of this right here because that's pretty much stabilized. So yeah, we take these guys out without too much difficulty. It's killing me. Like, this game is absolutely killing me. I wish I had known that I would be... Look at that. Right after that set of gargoyles, it's another set of gargoyles. Again, there was a big cut because I failed this attempt a bunch of times. Well, this encounter a bunch of times. And I ended up having to resort to save scumming with Slumber to take out one of the gargoyles. And hopefully take the pack out, because, right, I can't... This place is really tough because you can't rest. I'm already at level 1, well, not yet, but I'm 1 rest away from level 1 corruption, and I don't know how long this place is, so I can't just rest every time I want to refresh my spells. I have to take out as many encounters as I can until I get to a point where it's literally no chance to progress, and then at that point I can rest and refresh my spells. But until then I have to put in the time and just, you know, keep slogging through. Thankfully, look at this attempt. Ember was able to... The good thing about Gargoyles is their will is pretty low. And Ember is able to put them to sleep fairly consistently. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. This was extreme luck. I had two of them fall asleep in a row, and we are able to take them out. With our newly found weapons. Voice of the Hollow, I picked that up in the cave below. Leper's Smile, it's pretty damn nice. It's a +2 mace and casts some area of effect. Damage to everything except your target when you land a crit. Alright, but gonna speed through the rest of this right here. Two coup de grace. Unfortunately the second one doesn't execute, but we're able to finish this encounter in spite of that. Yeah, so takes a lot of luck, takes a lot of flipping between turn-based mode and real-time mode. It's hard. Right, you can't look at that. So after that encounter, I end up... There's another encounter further down the road with more gargoyles, and I'm basically at a point where I have to rest because I have no spells left, right? I went straight from the gargoyle camp, gargoyle invasion on our camp to this, and I basically, the only additional character I have now is Nenyo, so she has her spells, haste and displacement, but none of my other characters have anything. You can see we picked up Ember along the way, another cut here to the gargoyles in question that I was talking about. So we pick up Ember, so after that second set of gargoyles, we picked up Ember, ran into these guys, got destroyed, then had a rest, refreshed our spells, and then came back to these guys. I did fail a bunch of times on these guys as well, so this is, I don't even know what attempt number this is, but yeah, we are finally able to take these guys down as well, using some turn-based mode. Obviously none of these encounters take any, you know, ingenuity, they just take a lot of luck, honestly. And if you can come into this place prepared, so you don't trigger the gargoyle invasion by accident, and you have rested at camp, so you do have a few rests before corruption sets in, you will be way better off. Because I basically had to finish this whole zone with level 1 corruption, and the only reason I didn't hit level 2 is because there's a shrine further in that gives you back, kind of restores some of the corruption, so it prevented me from hitting level 2. But yeah, this entire sequence from the gargoyle invasion on our camp to the lost shrine was horrible, because I took out basically every optional encounter and everything all the way through the boss without being able to actually reset my corruption. I didn't, so there's actually even more to this place than these guys, than the gargoyles and the boss and Master Zacharias and all that. There's even more. But I do opt not to do that until I've had a proper rest at base, and then I come back and clear that all out a little later. So yeah, thankfully gargoyles are vulnerable to magic, so we are able to take those guys out. And this entire canyon section is just a gauntlet. It's just back-to-back encounters with gargoyles, undead, gargoyles, undead. And so there's another set of gargoyles further up here, which are even worse. Like, look at that. There are gargoyles spawning behind me, there are 3 in front of me, and I died so many times to these guys. I died so many times. And what I figured out was I can't take them. There's literally nothing I can do to take them. So what I opt to do is have Camelia. There's a set of allies, Regil and his buddies are all up in the road here, and so I'm like, okay, maybe we can have them help us, and they do help. They help, but they can die. So what I do is I have Camelia run past all the gargoyles and lead them to these allies over here, which does kind of work. This took a lot of attempts. If you walk too far with Camelia, she triggers a cutscene, and then all your guys get teleported right to where she is, which actually is a problem. So you can see what I'm doing here, right? That gargoyle just kept running for me, but thankfully it pulled off me here. Yeah, I have my undead fighting there, Regil standing in the middle of all those gargoyles. Now, here's the thing. Regil is fighting undead when you run into him, not gargoyles at all. He's fighting ghouls. And if you, there are two ways to trigger the cutscene. One, if you run too far up. So if I kept going a little further with Camelia, it would trigger the cutscene and teleport all my guys over here. Another way to trigger the cutscene is for Regil to finish off the undead. So if he kills the last ghoul, then the cutscene triggers automatically, regardless of how many gargoyles he's fighting. So you can see, look at him there. Oh, actually, is that Yaker? No, that's Yaker, not Regil. Sorry. So he keeps fighting. And then you can see, right, I have most of my party positioned back towards the entrance here. And I have Camelia on the other side using Greater Invase or using invisibility. And the problem, right, so I run my dog into combat there, and then unfortunately Yaker goes down, so then I'm like, okay, I gotta position very carefully here, because I managed to get a save in, and so now it's just a question of, yeah, getting them into visual without triggering aggro on my party here. So we're gonna speed through a lot of this here. So yeah, it's just, right, being very careful not to pull aggro myself and having Yaker do as much damage as possible while taking out as many gargoyles as possible in the back line. But you can see what happened there. So the last ghoul went down, and then the entire party got pulled into it without our consent. But thankfully, right, Yaker and his buddies are able to come in clutch here, and we are able to take these gargoyles out. Finally. So the last one right here. Yeah, so after this last gargoyle goes down, we do move on, and we run into our good friend, Sosiel over here, who, yeah, finds his brother's shield, Immaculate Petal, and he says it was on one of Regil's Hell Knights, who is now dead, so he wasn't really able to get any information. And then we can choose whether to bring him into the party or not. I opt to not bring him in. Right, I have my party set. Unfortunately, Woljif abandons us during the Gargoyle attack on our encampment, and I don't know if or when he comes back, but that is a huge blow to my party, because he was one of my most important party members, right? His stealth and his damage and his grease were just, I needed them. So I hope he's not gone for good, but I feel like he might be, because I haven't heard a thing since he left, and that really makes me sad. So after that, we do run into, finally, Ghouls over here. You can see what I did instead of, so if you run, so there's a lady that's lying in the middle of the road, injured in the middle of all these Ghouls, and the Ghouls have set a trap, so if you go to try and help her, they get up and kill her, and then they attack your party. Unfortunately, on Unfair at least, there's really no way to save the lady that I can think of. They immediately turn onto her and kill her. But what I found is if you run straight into them, right, if you run straight into the Ghouls, the Ghoul in the back, the ranged Ghoul, just annihilates your party. So what I found was by teleporting up onto the side over here, you can focus the Huntmaster and take him out. And then it's kind of easy, well, not easy. It's still tough to take the rest of these guys out. Thankfully, the dog over here comes in clutch. He's able to knock them over and take a bunch of hits. But we are able to take the rest of these guys out. The Huntmaster is a real problem here, so definitely focus that when you get to this encounter. So yeah, after this, it's a straight tank and spank. Thankfully, the dog, he really did hold his own there. He was able to hold off the horde for a long time. Long enough for Razor Fiend to, prep up, get his illusory doubles or triples up, and then get in and tank. So after those guys, again, right, even more ghouls. Yay! Hooray! And this encounter proved to be beyond my capabilities. I think I needed a rest by this point, but I wasn't able to take them out. So what you can do here is, so these ghouls are engaged on some of your allies. You can see how many of them there are, right? There are 5 of them. And if you position perfectly, you can shoot them and they will be engaged on targets that are still in fog of war, which means that they don't do any damage to those targets. So technically, if you position absolutely perfectly, you can take them out without having to tank them. But it's really finicky. If you even reveal a pixel of the dude that they're fighting, then he dies instantly and then they turn on you. So yeah, we're going to speed through the rest of this. So I'm trying to take out the ghouls on the side here. They're proving to be way too tough for me. I end up taking out a couple of them. So I shoot a few, I'm able to one-shot a few of the weaker ones with a single volley, run away and save. So the pack does keep getting smaller and smaller, thankfully, but the really tough ones are really tough. So what I opt to do is I decide I'm going to try and bypass them with Camelia, see if there's more help further up. And so I equip her with the Signet that gives her additional stealth, and then I give her Invis, run her past, run into this group of bodies here, but there are more gargoyles further up the path. So I'm like, okay, no help, more enemies. Let's see what's past the gargoyles. And then, right, I keep running her. I manage to sneak her past the gargoyles with greater invis. And like, looks like there's a friend there, but nope, he only kills those 3 ghouls. And then there's even more enemies up here, more ghouls. And then over to the side, there's an incubus and even more ghouls. And this guy, the Cabriri cultist, he just rocks me. Does like 150 damage nukes, and there's one of them in this pack as well with the incubus. And so I'm like, Jesus Christ, how am I supposed to get past this guy? Even if I do somehow get my party up here, how am I going to take this guy out? Unfortunately, the footage of taking him out is gone. I only have the sound from it because apparently OBS was set to record another game. What's it called? The undead game that I was playing Back for Blood or whatever. And I didn't set it back to Pathfinder, so I lost all that footage. And you can see what happened there. There was a very interesting bug. So after running, I run up the hill and I'm like, okay, now I got to get Camelia all the way back, or I have to reload the old save. And then when I'm running down, I noticed that there's a cave entrance kind of near where Razorfiend and gang is. And I'm actually able to click on the cave entrance and enter the cave without actually having anyone near the cave entrance. And so we click on it, enter the cave, and then the Camelia is already dead at that point, so I had to reload anyways. But I do eventually send my entire party down into that cave, and that's where we're going to leave it for today. We're going to pick up tomorrow to see what's down in this cave, and then continue on with the Lost Apple. It's long, there's a lot of fights, and there's going to be a lot of cutting and speeding, because yeah, it's a lot of kills. Thanks for joining me, I'll see y'all in the next one.